Hey guys, how's it going? Ruben here from the Midnight Garage. Today I am going to show you guys how to do an S2000 cluster conversion. Before we start, I did this swap in my Honda Civic Shuttle, my Red Drive K21, but I will talk about how to do this swap with a few other models as well. So I'm not talking exclusively about the Honda Civic, but about EF, EG, EK, DC2. Secondly, links of what I'm talking about can be found in the description and you can find them there, and I will try to keep everything as short as possible because I'm understanding that you have a bit better things to do in your life than watch this video all day, right? Well, let's start. Well, first up, the electronics, wiring everything up. Oh, look at the beauty of this. Look at all these wires I haven't used. Well, people usually think that wiring this up is the hardest part of the swap. But actually it is the easiest part. If you can hook up a radio, you can pretty much hook up this. The reason this is also easy is because of one guy, and his name is John C. No, his name is Mark Lemond. He has a website, marklemond.co.uk, and he basically put all the wiring diagrams for every car to wire up an S2000 cluster in. You put it in for an AP1 cluster and an AP2 cluster, and pretty much EF, EG, EK. Like I said, links are in the description. I have put the actual diagrams in the end of the video, all the way at the end, because I haven't seen him update the website in years, and I'm kind of afraid that he will sooner or later delete the site and then all his work will be gone. So you can check it out there, but please check out his website as well, because he has a ton of extra information. And fixing all the wiring for the S2000 cluster is literally as simple as cutting the wires from your dashboard wiring and then soldering it to the pigtails of the S2000 cluster. If you have the schemes, you can just simply mix and match and you're done. And now you would have pretty much 90% of the entire wire loom fixed. Now there are three things that do not work properly using only this method. The first one is the fuel sensor, the second one is the temperature sensor, and the third one is the speed of the car. Now the last one is pretty important, the other two, depending on if you have gauges or something, not that much. But I will talk about each one individually. But before I did this, let me talk about the speed sensor first, because I did this on an EF, and an EF, like this car, has a manual speed sensor and not a digital one. So I had to convert that. And I didn't have an EF here in which you could see that clearly, but I had this one. As you can see here, there's one bolt holding it up, and you can use a vise to just pull out the entire speed sensor and then swap it for another one. Well, before the K20 shuttle, I've also had an S2000 cluster conversion in my D-Series CRX, and the speed sensor I used for that was one from an EK. You can also use one from an EG, but the rear engine mount is in the way slightly and you have to cut stuff, and the EK one is slightly smaller and therefore fits better. So just swap it out and you have the three wires. One is a ground, one is the 12-volt lead, and one is the signal going to the speed sensor. It's really easy actually. But now that you've hooked up the speed sensor and you want to drive your car, you notice that the speed varies a whole lot with the actual speed you are going. I believe the speed sensor in the cluster is 42 times more precise than the one you had in your old cluster. So it means if you're going like 42 kilometers per hour, you are going, it will show that you're going like 1 or 2 kilometers per hour. It's really slow and it's useless. So what I've did is I have used a Speedo Healer. This is actually something for motorcycles, but people seem to use it, and it's pretty cheap. It's, I believe, $60 or something. And what you do is you basically hook up the wiring from the speed sensor, that one wire I was talking about earlier, and you go, it will go through the Speedo Healer, and then you can basically speed up or slow down the signal. So with this little sensor, you can just speed up the signal all the way up until it's actually matching the actual speed of the car, which might be nice if you're not looking to get any speeding tickets, for example. Hooking up the Speedo Healer itself is actually really easy. It's one 12-volt wire, one ground, and one wire going from the speed sensor to the Speedo Healer, and one going from the Speedo Healer to the cluster. That's it. And now that we fixed the speed sensor, let's fix the temperature sensor as well. I've actually used the modify, and the modify basically modifies the signal of the coolant sensor to something that's even better than stock, so you can have a much better idea of the temperature of the car. Now the old one I have had a 5-volt input, which is really hard to find on a car, and it's a bother, and I won't even talk about that because I've seen that they've updated that to a 12-volt system. So now it's basically same as the Speedo Healer. One 12-volt, one ground, one signal going in and one signal going out. Real simple as well, and that fixes your temperature sensor as well. And that only leaves us with the fuel gauge. Now, the fuel gauge does work, but especially near when the gas tank is almost empty, it just gets a bit erratic. And to be honest, I'm not really bothered by it. I wasn't bothered with the previous car as well. I can live with that, it's not a big deal. But if you are, there are a few options out there. For example, Mark LeMond has some options to make that work. Either way, if you have or have not fixed it, you now have your S2000 cluster working. Easy peasy, right? Now, there's one more thing I want to say, because I've been swapping this for years now and I've been using this setup and it works for me and it's relatively cheap. But there is a more expensive option now on the market, which is easier. And that's the S2000 cluster conversion from K-Tune. What that basically is the fuel gauge, the temperature gauge and the speed sensor all in one, and you basically have to hook everything up at once and then everything works. It's a more expensive option, but it works all in one. And personally, I haven't tried it before, so I can't tell you about how it works. But I've had some K-Tune products before, and I'm pretty confident that this is a good product as well. So I'm not really worried about that. So if you are looking to spend a few more dollars and have a bit of an easier way to do everything, then that's an option as well. Also, some of the aftermarket wiring companies, they sell complete wiring looms in the entire dash, so you can just hook everything up at once. That's probably the most expensive option, but if you don't feel like doing this yourself, this is the best option for you. Well, and that's all there is to it. If you follow these steps, you have hooked up your S2000 cluster and you can get all the mad JDM points in the world. So yeah, this was the video. I hope it was of some use to you guys and that you can now hook up your own S2000 cluster. Remember that the pinouts are at the end of the video or at marklemon.co.uk. So, I hope you liked it, leave a like if you did, and if you want to see more of these how-tos or general bullshit that we're up to, then hit the subscribe button, and then I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!